I don't think I'll ever be convinced that there was not election fraud that helped Joe Biden win. But for the sake of discussion, let us assume that Joe Biden won fair and square. This should be telling everyone that the death of democracy has arrived. Because democracy, I don't want to get into Democrat versus Republican arguments of democracy, because when I say democracy, I only mean that people vote, unlike in China. Now, democracy fundamentally means that the people rule themselves through their vote, right? And this requires that the people who vote have a certain degree of awareness, wisdom, and responsibility about their vote. And if Joe Biden has genuinely won the election fair and square, that should tell you that the wisdom of the masses has failed and proved China's model. Now, China's model is a model that applies virtually everywhere there is not an effective democratic government. That model is a model that has applied to human society from day one, ever since the villages and tribes started gathering into cities and nations and then nation states. The one rule that has applied is that in any society there are the rulers and the ruled. So all of the power is in the hands of the rulers, all the wealth is in the hands of the rulers, and they play games between themselves, whether giving their sons the throne or whatever it is. They have the power, they have the wealth, and the vast majority of people are just getting by. That's been the rule forever. And this is something that changed with England and the Magna Carta and the Parliament, and then in the US with the US Constitution and the Senate and all of that. But this is not a model that very many people in the world subscribe to. So the Chinese model is based on the fundamental idea that democracy is a unnecessary and stupid, misguided thing, and that people are righteously ruled by a few elites whose only responsibility is to provide bread and circuses to the people. Make them work, make sure they're fed, make sure they're entertained, and keep them out of the business and the affairs of the ruling elite. That's a Chinese model. And the Chinese worked out a model about how to bring down the United States. And that was that if the Soviet Union could not bring down the U.S. because the U.S. was so that its system of freedom and commerce and democracy could not be overcome by traditional means, then the way to beat America was to feed. If America is driven by greed is good, then feed the greed. China fed America's greed. China fed the greed of the shareholders, of the investors, of the bankers, and of the politicians who get donations from these rich people. So that is a Chinese model, and that is a model that China has pretty much brought about in the United States as well. The ruled, the rulers, and the ruled. And the reason I say that democracy is failing is because it is hard to judge that the people who have voted for Biden are in any way. I find it difficult to believe that their wisdom and their knowledge and their intelligence is worthy of deciding who gets to form the government. For the very simple reason that these people have I don't even know where to begin. They can't point out anything that is wrong with Trump except his manner. And the fact that 47 years and whatever the system's been doing, the wars, the healthcare crises, the everything that's gone wrong, no one is to be held accountable for that, but Orange Man bad. Why Orange Man bad? Because he's a racist and a misogynist. Right? Like, that's it, right? I mean, do Biden voters have anything to sell except Orange Man bad? No, they don't. Because they have no idea of what the consequences of voting for Biden are or have been, what China has done, what globalization has meant. They don't care, and they only want. You see, when people start looking for their own egos to be gratified because they're offended and they don't like a bully, and they go and vote for the idiots who sell them out but sell them sweet things, democracy has failed, right? So unless if the Biden presidency was duly elected and it does not fail within the next 4 months and 4 years or sooner, and get replaced very quickly by Trump 2.0, whether with Trump or with someone else, it means democracy is done. It means that China will have proven that if you can fill the heads of people with bullshit and you can bribe them and corrupt them with their own self-interest, then really the idea that people care about values and the nation and the constitution and principles gets proved false. So China has proved it false, right? And I keep saying China, 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 because here's the thing, right? While Hollywood, the universities, the news media, the sports franchises, while they all go and milk the Chinese market for money, they come and shit on you about how racist you are, right? So if this is really about social justice, why is nobody talking about the 100 million people that China has killed in the last 50, 60 years? I mean, sure, slavery is a bad thing, and sure, what happened to the Native Americans was a bad thing, but that was 250 years ago. Why are you paying the price for it when China, that has killed 100 million people within my lifetime, faces no consequences, and nobody asks what gender rights and gay rights and racial rights in China are like? Everything that you buy, everything that you own is made in China. But globalization, that was supposed to make everything cheaper, because global trade benefits everyone. Free trade is good for everyone. That's what they're sold, right? Or the most expensive things in your life are your house, your education, your car, your healthcare, and none of those four things got cheaper. You got cheaper TVs and cheaper shoes, but then the shoes weren't that cheap either, because Nike will make a shoe for $5 in China and sell it for $250 with an NBA logo on it, and NBA takes their share, Nike takes their share, and everybody who helped facilitate this policy gets their share, and you get fucked. So America, see, here's the thing. The reality is that till recently, in any democratic country, the choice has always between, on one side, limited government and free enterprise is one choice, and big government and controlled economy on the other choice. This is how we've been voting between the left and the right. This is broadly how the left and right has been described. On the left, on the right, you have small government, free enterprise, traditional values. On the right, on the left, you have big government, controlled economy, and progressive values. So this is a choice that we've been selecting for 100, 150 years at least, right? Ever since, Marx stuck his toe into the thing. But this is a debate that has actually become irrelevant in the last 20 plus years, and you didn't even realize it. Because the way it turned out was that as far as the culture war is concerned, the left already won. The progressives already won. They won't tell you that they won. They keep pushing their victory till you are ground to dust, right? So if you're on the right, can you have a frank conversation about your culture versus another culture, your values versus another's values, the values that built your society and your country versus the culture and values that prevented other societies from developing and becoming rich and fair and just? No, they don't. So the culture war is already over, in the sense that now, unless you say that, we're not even going to discuss it anymore, this is just how we are, you're going to take it. Unless you do that, which I doubt, because none of you watching this really has the ability to stand in your workplace, stand in your in front of television and really say what you think. You probably don't even think it anymore. That's how much you've been programmed about progressive values. But let's leave that aside. That leaves the idea of big government and free enterprise on one side, big government and limited, big government and controlled economy on one side, and limited government and free economy on the other side. The reason that this debate has gone bunkum and now means absolutely nothing is because from Australia to the US to Canada to Britain, all have now fallen into the post-Mao Chinese model, I should say the Jinping model, in which government and billionaires together, big government and big money together rule the little guy. This, if you are still in the left versus right mode of thinking, you're wrong. And because you're a voter, and if you're thinking this and you're voting on this basis, you have no idea what you're dealing with. Because the people now selling you this progressive versus traditional system are all selling you horseshit to hide the reality that the billionaires and the big government people, whether in the US or whether in China, are now of one mind that those who have money and those who have government power get together and rule the little guy. You're the little guy. And if Biden's presidency, if Biden is legitimately elected, then people have voted for this system, which means that they're ignorant and stupid and corrupt and self-righteous to a point of madness. Right? So if this is how if Biden has won legitimately, then this is what Biden has voted represents big government and big money worldwide together to fuck you and your ability to disrupt system by your opinions expressed through your vote. You can't say anything that you say that offends the system. Facebook, Twitter, Google, YouTube, Vice, BBC, NBC, everybody will declare you a hate monger and kick you off their platforms. You can't go out in the public space and gather people with whom you can organize these views and say, you know what the hell is this shit? You can't. People like Ilhan Omar come from Somalia and come and tell you that you're shit instead of telling the world how great America is. She tells you that you're shit, your history is shit, your culture is shit, your values are shit, your achievements are shit, right? So the system has brought down American freedom, American democracy by selling horse shit to people who don't know enough and don't bother to find out enough. And that will be the end of democracy unless people realize that this will not do. That means that if Biden is legitimately elected, Biden must fail. And then Trump 2.0 must come back. Otherwise, it's goodbye America, it's goodbye democracy, it's goodbye freedom, it's goodbye to the First Amendment, it's goodbye to the Second Amendment. It's as simple as that. We really are on the threshold of the end of democracy unless those who make money with China are not gotten rid of. And at this point, you will not find how many members of Congress, like 540, something like that? I don't have the number off the top of my head, 600, whatever it is. You will not find more than 10 of them who will stand up and make it their declared policy that Chinese interference in American economy and American politics must be destroyed, and Chinese economic and political power must be destroyed. You won't find more than 10 or 20 people. And even those that you find will find their careers, their re-election chances, their prospects, their post-political career futures all in profound jeopardy if they don't shut up and sit down. So if Biden is legitimately or illegitimately entered into the White House, and you don't see China sweating shit out of its skin, understand that the end of democracy is nigh. The end of freedom is nigh. The end of America is just about here. And the only way that we're going to get out of this is if those who understand or those who figure that there is something wrong make it very clear that they are for Trump, they will be for Trump, and anyone who is selling horseshit about racism and misogyny and imperialism and racial justice and globalization and is the enemy. Anybody who is not attacking China and seeking the destruction of the Communist Party of China is the enemy of freedom in America. It's as simple as that. But you're not going to be able to get away very far with this because, everybody who's doing well, whether that, enough said. Suffice to say, Biden means America dies and China wins and the American Revolution has run its course. That's what Biden means. So at the very least, don't let Biden get away with anything in his presidency. He should be the lamest of lame ducks and out after the first term. That's what should happen. Make America great again.